What if I told you you could take huge strides towards healing your hangups in relationships in only 7 fun, easy lessons without having to talk in circles around your feelings for hours on end or spend a ton of money on experts and specialists? Well, if this sounds intriguing to you, let me ask you, no matter how hard you try, do you always find yourself falling back into those same old relationship patterns? With partners that don't appreciate you and take your generosity for granted? Show up with fireworks one day and then disappear without explanation the next. They treat you like an intimate partner, but don't always give you the physical intimacy that should come along with that. Or they only seem to be interested in sex and exclude you from all these other aspects of their lives. Perhaps they avoid labeling the relationship and make you feel neurotic for needing that. Maybe they behave in a needlessly secretive fashion. Or ignore you for weeks and then text, "miss you" at 2 a.m. Or maybe your partner is intrusive and over-controlling, monitors every move you make, has high demands and never gives you any space. Maybe they take everything personally and overanalyze everything you say, interprets most situations in the negative, presses for too much too fast, doesn't respect your boundaries or a need for space, expects you to read their mind and then blows up when you don't, is hot 1 minute and then cold the next. Well, if so, you will be so glad that you enrolled in this course. Maybe you've been classified as sensitive or empathic and anxious. Maybe sometime long ago you learned that you had to distrust your own feelings. Maybe you've simply settled all your life tending to those around you. Or maybe you feel kind of vague and chameleon-y, uncomfortable with standing out and being seen. Perhaps your environment caused you to kind of wilt and self-forget. Well, that ends now. In my signature course, Healing Attachment Wounds with Mindfulness and Creative Arts Therapies, you will gain valuable insight into how your style of loving, your attachment style, could be helping or hindering your relationships. Now, there are 4 main attachment styles, and each one comes with its own strengths and pitfalls, particularly when it comes to our adult romantic relationships. There's no right or wrong way to be, but sometimes the very sensitivity that is our gift can chokehold us with fear, self-doubt, and thin boundaries when it comes to love. Knowing your attachment style and the style of your partner can unlock a wealth of information about how to find and build the kind of supportive, passionate, and spiritually nourishing relationship that you may be looking for. Now, just for a moment, I'd like you to imagine, what if? What if you didn't have to be overwhelmed with anxiety and fear in your relationships? What if you weren't afraid to be fully emotionally present or felt smothered anytime real intimacy presented an opportunity to you? What if you didn't have to control every little aspect of the relationship to feel safe? What if things flowed with ease and pleasure and play was the norm between you and your partner? What if sex and emotional intimacy were experienced and celebrated as a unified and sensual, spiritual experience? Well, if you are ready to break free from unhealthy patterns of living and loving, leave behind the fantasy of perfection that keeps us imprisoned in a perpetual cycle of pain, abandonment, rejection, and longing, really step into true love in all its beautiful messiness, then this course is perfect for you. And so altogether, this course is dripped once a week over the course of 7 weeks. Once all the material has been dripped, you will gain access to it whenever you want for all time. Okay, and so inside your course, you will receive access to all of your lectures, guided meditations, and arts-based exercises as soon as your 7th week is dripped. This also includes 7 core lectures, 7 guided visualizations, and 7 arts-based tutorials and experientials. And I'd like you just to reflect on that as I walk you through the 7 lessons in this course, Healing Attachment Wounds with Mindfulness and Creative Arts Therapies, to help you kind of get a picture of what your next steps may be. Okay, so the first one I'm going to walk you through is the Illuminating Intersections lesson. And so the goal of this lesson is really to take you from feeling confused and oblivious to consciously aware of the negative impact complicated grief and short-term escapes may have had on your attachment relationships. And this is so important because understanding yourself in context allows you to broaden your scope and better understand where you need to dig deeper. And so in this lesson, you learn about the neural mechanisms of complicated grief and attachment, the role of what I call attachment hunger in addiction, and 6 myths about grief that may be impacting your love relationships. And now we're going to move on to transforming anxiety. So in this lesson, the goal is to learn how to use natural imagery to organize your feelings in a non-threatening way. And this takes you from feeling overwhelmed by fearful or anxious feelings to trusting and embracing them as important communicators of your intuition. And so part of working through anxiety is establishing a sense of safety in the body, because the body is the first organizer of your experience, holding most of your intense feelings. And so conditions qualifying as anxiety disorders are in fact qualified by their physical symptoms, remember. So in this lesson, we learn about the emotional and physical symptoms of anxiety, 2 specific types of anxiety, as well as a developmental and psycho-spiritual framework for how to conceptualize and work with anxiety. And now we're going to take a look at examining patterns. Now, the goal of this lesson is to learn how to identify your relationship patterns and extract meaning from them so you don't end up repeating an unwanted cycle and can stop beating yourself up over the past. And this lesson's important for 3 reasons. So first, it offers you red flags to help you avoid falling into unhealthy situations in the future. It also recontextualizes your experience as both a psycho, emotional, and chemical addiction, and it helps you identify your patterns in love and consciously extract meaning from your relationships. In addition to that, in this lesson, we also go over the neurochemical components of what goes on in your body if you have found yourself stuck in what I call the anxious avoidant trap, or when you have basically found yourself caught in roller coaster relationships. After that, you step into the discovering phase, and that is where we begin with attachment origins. Now, the goal of this lesson is to take you from idealizing and romanticizing your childhood to more compassionately understanding why and how you may have accumulated some emotional and energetic baggage that, quite frankly, just doesn't belong to you. And this is really important because it allows you to release energetic cords to people, places, and things that no longer serve you. And it's a major step in embracing the life that does belong to you. So the more we understand about the origins of our attachment styles, the more compassion we may have towards ourselves and others, and the less power they have over the decisions that we make in love. And so in this lesson, you will be able to name and identify 4 parenting styles and their related attachment styles. We're also going to explore current research on changing attachment styles. And we're also going to look at the ability to assess your own attachment style. And then we're going to step into our 5th lesson on looking at the brain chemistry, okay? Now, in this lesson, you'll learn about 7 types of attention deficit and its potential impact on love relationships. You'll also learn about 5 big bosses of the brain that may help you contextualize your relationships. And so the idea is that this is going to take you from feeling angry, resentful, or baffled by your partner's behavior to patient, accepting, and aware of what makes them tick. And that's super important because it helps you contextualize your relationship and improve empathy and communication in either your current or future relationships. And so from this course, you will gain the ability to name the 7 types of attention deficit and how they could be impacting your love life, as well as to describe 5 different brain systems and how they may also be impacting your love life and your ability to communicate with your partner. And now we're going to take a look at our 6th lesson, which is shedding self-fulfilling prophecies. Now, in this lesson, you are going to learn about 2 types of limiting beliefs and how these may be preventing you from finding the love that you want. You also learn about the role of fantasy and expectation in insecure relationships. And the goal is to transform your mindset from being locked in a cycle of fantasy, perfectionism, and self-sabotage to shedding those self-fulfilling prophecies and opening yourself up to love. And this is important because unless you are able to deconstruct and shift your beliefs, you'll never be able to raise your vibration enough to step into your romantic life as a creator of it rather than just a survivor of it. And so the objectives for this particular lesson include the ability to name 2 types of limiting beliefs, as well as the ability to articulate the role of fantasy and expectation in your relationships. And now we're going to move into reclaiming the sacred body. And so the goal of our final lesson is to recover split off aspects of your emotional body and spirit so that you may love yourself more fully, thereby raising your vibration to call in a whole and loving partner as well. And this is really important because it takes you from feeling fearful and disconnected from your body and your emotional guidance system to standing sovereign in your sacred temple, ready to give and receive love beyond insecurity. And so the learning objectives for this particular lesson are to learn how we become disconnected from our bodies and our emotional guidance system. We also look at 4 emotions that have to be expressed before a soul deep love can appear in your life. And then we also establish a personal ritual for reclaiming your sacred body. Don't you think it's time to stop struggling with the same old behavioral patterns, social conditioning, and mindset blocks you've always had? Wherever you may be on your journey, let this course be the first step toward consciously creating a love that makes your heart sing and helps you to trust the process.